Most leaders talk about managing teams, but few talk about one of the most powerful leadership skills, managing up. If you've ever felt like your boss doesn't fully see you and your value, you're frustrated by unclear expectations, or you want to increase your influence with senior leaders, then this is the session for you. Today, I'm going to break down the art of managing up, not as manipulation, but as a strategic leadership skill that accelerates your career, strengthens your relationships, and makes you an invaluable asset for any organization. I'm Alex D. Tremble, CEO of GPS Leadership Solutions, and for years I've coached executives in Fortune 500 companies, executive leaders within the federal government, and everywhere in between. I've hosted the Executive Appeal podcast for the last 4 years, where I've interviewed hundreds of executive leaders from all across the world. My organization, GPS Leadership Solutions, specializes in facilitating customized multi-day leadership experiences, such as executive retreats and team building workshops. And all of these efforts are focused on improving our clients' ability to truly exercise the critical skills of leadership, influence, and executive presence. And here's something I've seen over and over again. The people who rise to the top aren't just great at managing teams. They're also really amazing at managing up. This isn't about politics. Well, that's not true. It is about politics. It's about political savvy. This is about positioning yourself for success, for building trust with decision makers and ensuring that your contributions are seen and valued at the highest levels. So, look, I'll also be pulling from insights from my books, Unlocking the Executive Advantage, Relationships That Work, as well as Reaching Senior Leadership. So you'll walk away, even if you I know you're going to gain a lot from today's session, but afterwards, read those books, and you will just have more and more skills, tools, and mindset shifts that will truly result in real behavior change and success. That's what we're all about here, is actually acquiring success, not just feeling good. It's okay, it's great, wonderful. I'm happy when people feel good. I'm happy when people feel motivated. But you're not going to stay motivated if you're not reaching your goals. You're not going to stay motivated if you're not reaching your teams. You're not going to be staying motivated if you don't actually have something change for the positive in your life. So this is what we're focused here on today. So let's get started. What managing up is a skill that separates average leaders from the great ones. And here's how you do it. The first, understand your boss's priorities and pressures. Your boss has goals, challenges, pressures you don't see. If you don't understand what they're juggling, it's hard to position yourself as an asset to the organization. And it's actually really funny. So every senior leader who I've interviewed at again, senior level, executive level position, and then they got their boss's job, they always to the T said they had so much more on their plate than I could have imagined. Even if they were the deputy, even if they were almost a co-manager, as soon as they actually took the role, they quickly understood that their boss, their supervisor, their manager had so much more on their plate than they would have ever guessed, right? And so it's truly important to understand how you can truly help your boss reach those priorities. And this is when I talk about political savvy, though, is so many people I speak to and coach say, well, shouldn't my boss's priorities be the priorities of the company? Well, yeah, sure, right? Is sometimes that not 100% the case? The goal of the company absolutely at a point in time may be to get a new policy out, to get a new product out, to increase sales, revenue, whatever it may be. That may be the overarching goal of the company, but maybe your manager's goal right now, honestly, is to get promoted, right? Maybe your manager's goal right now, honestly, is to have more family time, right? Maybe they're swamped all the time, and their true goal is to find a way to just be more present with their family. You won't know that if you don't talk to them. And so the example I love to share actually is so I'm a huge nerd. For those of you who know me and or maybe not know me, you may know I'm a huge nerd. So One Piece is freaking amazing. I love anime, Demon Slayer. There's so many to rattle off. I could, Four Knights of the Apocalypse. Great animes. I got this anime shirt autographed actually by Luffy himself. So it's pretty cool, right? So I'm really excited. How excited are you? Now, if you're reacting how most of the people in my classes and audiences react, the vast majority will say, "I have no idea what you're saying, Alex." But that's weird. But I value it. Then why wouldn't you value? And you would say, "Well, one, I don't know what it is. It's not important to me. I'm not someone who watches anime. Why would I value this? Yeah, it's nice that you value it, but I don't value it." And see, here's the problem when we're talking about providing value to others. We tend to identify things that we value and then give it to the other person and say, well, if I value it, they must value it. And then we're upset if they don't value it. Why don't you value? Why don't you appreciate all that I've done for you? And maybe they just don't value that, right? And so just like you may not value a One Piece shirt signed by Luffy, you may not value that I did a particular project for you. You may not value that I stepped in and did X, Y, and Z because those things aren't important to you. And so I encourage people, I talk about this in depth in the book, Relationships That Work, but use the PPF strategy, right? Identify their personal goals, their professional goals, and their financial goals. If you can spend the time to identify those, you will know how and where to provide value to them, value that they themselves will actually appreciate, right? So here's the tip for this section. Instead of focusing on your workload, take time to ask questions about their strategic goals. This gives you insight into where you can add the most value strategically, intentionally, and generally speaking, with less effort. Because if you're doing random stuff trying to make someone happy, you're doing a lot of random stuff when you could literally just ask them. So that's the first one. Again, check out the book, Relationship That Work, where I talk about the importance of anticipating the needs and wants of your leadership. This is a true game changer when it comes to managing up. Okay, the second point is align your work with their success. Executives think in terms of results and impacts. The more you can connect your contributions to what they care about, the more influence you gain. Now, here's the trick. Be specific. Don't make them guess. Don't rely on hope. Well, hopefully they'll see the value in what I did. That hope is not a strategy. Tell them. Here's the tip. Instead of just updating them on the tasks, communicate in terms of outcomes. Example, this project will help us reduce operational costs by 15%. I've handled this issue so it wouldn't escalate, saving you time. And again, whatever it is you're doing, tie it to their goals so they know that you are contributing to their goals, to things they value. Do not leave it up to chance that someone will put the dots together. Again, these people, generally speaking, are very busy, have many things on their mind. So they may not catch those small things you're doing. Those small things can be very impactful to them if you made that connection for them. Again, in my book, Reaching Senior Leadership, I emphasize the importance of framing your work in terms of business impact. This is how executives think. Okay, the third one we're going to jump into is adapt to their communication style. Every leader has a preferred way of receiving information. Some want big picture summaries. Others want detailed breakdowns. Here's where I see people make mistake after mistake after mistake. Well, this is how I communicate. I don't understand why they don't get it. Or Me and my last leader, my last supervisor, this is how we communicated. I don't understand why this person is so difficult, why they can't just take the information I'm giving them. Don't do that. And here's another piece. Again, I'm someone who is a huge advocate of living in the real world. I don't believe in rainbows where unicorns are hopping down and gumdrops and jelly bean ice cream floating from the sky. I live in the real world, as you should as well. So I tell people, don't focus on what should be, focus on what is. And if you are in a relationship with a new leader, yes, hopefully they will take the step to maybe adapt some of their communication style to your style, and you can meet in the middle. But you know what happens? That doesn't happen all the time. So the question you have to ask yourself is, well, this should be different. And so I'm going to keep operating the way I'm operating. That's not causing me to have the results that I say I want. And it's for frustrating. It's making my life more difficult. They're not liking me. I'm not liking them. Is it that I should just, wait out because this is what should be happening? Or do I focus on what is happening? Okay, this person has a particular way of communicating, and let me just adapt my style. Because for me, I prefer to be successful than to be right. Right? Sometimes you can be right and be very uncomfortable and not reach any of your goals. So let's say, again, it's not, as long as it's not morally, ethically, or illegally challenging, do what you got to do. Adapt your style. If it means being a little more detailed, be more detailed. If it needs to be backing off of your detail, because some leaders do not want all of that. You will overwhelm them, and they will feel like, not overwhelm them, but they'll make their eyes glaze over, and they'll get to a point where you're providing so much information, they just start to write you off. They're like, look, you should be curating this information for me. But I'll tell you, me, myself, again, all of us do have our way of communicating, our natural preferred way of communicating, and naturally preferred way of operating in general. And so I am a very high level, big picture person. Like, that's how I like to communicate. That's where I like to keep my ideas and my thoughts. I was in a chief of staff role for 3 years. And my supervisor, my principal at that point, was a very detail-oriented person. They wanted me to be super detailed. And I had to very quickly shift how I operated, how I thought for 3 years. Now, I was extremely successful in the role, and her and I still are good friends to this day because I was such an effective chief of staff for her. But at the end of the day, I also realized I couldn't keep that up forever, right? And so at the 3-year point, there was a question, "Hey, Alex, you want to stay?" And I was like, "I think I'm ready for my next thing." I said, the person you need, the person you want anyways, is a detailed person. That's not me. I am the person who can get things done. I'm gonna drive the ship. I'm gonna engage people. I'm gonna motivate the team. I'm gonna make sure everything gets done in a politically savvy way, but I'm not the guy who's gonna be super detailed. That's not me. And so then I moved on to my next opportunity, my first C-suite position after that. But again, it's just me being honest with myself that this is the way my principal operates and this is what she wants, right? Not always about what they need, right? Because they may need something. You may know they need a particular skill, whatever it may be. But people don't, generally speaking, provide performance evaluations and so on and so forth based off of what they need. People generally operate off what they want, right? We all need to eat better, but we all want to eat them chips. Okay. So let's be very intentional about understanding the difference in there. So what I'm encouraging you to do, again, don't focus on what should be, focus on what is. So that is, here's your tip: pay attention to how your principal, how your supervisor communicates in meetings and match their style. If they like bullet points, don't send them long reports. If they if they have an ask for data, then don't give vague updates. Anticipate what they need and provide that. There's a guy I was working with. There's once an executive who I was coaching who was extremely frustrated with his boss because Actually, his boss was extremely frustrated with him because he sent these super detailed emails when his boss only wanted high level takeaways. And a simple shift in format completely changed how he was perceived. Again, these are little small things that we can do that have a huge outside impact on the work we do, on the relationships we have, and ultimately our career and overarching success. Okay, so let's jump to number 4. Build trust through proactive problem solving. The best way to earn influence with senior leaders: solve problems before they become problems. This sounds simple, right? But not many people do it. When we teach leaders how to, so, and again, in our workshops and the retreats that we do, we're focused also on teaching leaders how to make sure they have proactive team members, right? Because this makes life so much easier for everyone. Increases autonomy, increases employee engagement, increases leadership ability, so people can actually level up in the organization through succession planning and so on and so forth. So when we teach leaders how to help their employees be more proactive, we suggest the 3-to-1 technique. Now, what is that? Every time when someone comes to you and tries to ask you a question or present you with a problem, as a leader, we teach them to start pushing back. Well, great problem. I'd like you to provide me with 3 potential solutions to it. And of the 3, I want you to recommend one of those solutions, and I need you to tell me why. Great practice to get in. Great practice to get in because it teaches your staff, your subordinates to do their homework, right? To come to the table prepared. So when you have that conversation with them, they can say, because here's a note: don't ever let anyone tell you there is only one solution. If there's only one solution to a problem, they may be trying to manipulate you. They maybe didn't do their homework. They have a hidden agenda potentially. There is always more ways to solve a problem than one. One may be better than the other, but there's always more than one way. And so a rule of thumb is always ask them to provide you with 3 recommendations. And then of those 3 recommendations, why did they choose a particular recommendation? Because you want to understand their thought process. Again, this is also great for coaching up and developing your staff and your team members. Now, does that mean that you go with their number 1 recommendation? Not necessarily. Once they provide that with you, that information to you, now you can have a conversation about it. Ask additional questions. See if that's really the direction you want to go. Do you have additional ideas? But the point is to get in the practice of them bringing solutions to you versus them bringing problems to you. So the same thing works the other way around. Here's the tip: don't just bring issues, bring solutions. Instead of saying this process is broken, say, here's an issue I found, and here are 3 solutions I have in mind. I think of the 3 solutions, this is the best option for moving forward, and here are the reasons why. Do you have any additional questions, thoughts, or do I have to prove? Can I move forward? Be proactive, be confident, right? Do your homework, then keep an open mind. Maybe they don't like that. It's okay. But you've shown them that you've shown them your thought process, and this is what's going to ultimately lead to you getting to that next level too. Because if they did think of something differently, then you want to have a conversation with them like, oh, I hadn't thought about that. What made you think about that? Oh, okay. So now you can include that information in your next thought process as well when those types of things come up. In my book, Unlocking the Executive Advantage, I talk about building credibility through strategic relationships. This is how you gain leadership influence, by being someone who's proactive and can be seen and trusted to have a good thought process when solving and addressing issues, and making them hopefully not issues. So let's go to number 5. And then I promise you we only have one more after that, and we'll wrap it up. 5 is protect their time and make their job easier. Man, high-level leaders are consistently overloaded. The more you make their job easier, the more valuable you become. Yeah, I interviewed this chief human capital officer from Coke Industries, huge multi-million dollar organization, spread all across the world. And when I asked him, what is the best thing, the most influential thing a leader can do, and we were focused on executives, an executive leader can do to build and garner more respect and a better relationship with you, he said, take things off my plate. He says, I have so much work. And if you talk to almost any executive, they will say the same thing. Removing things off of their plate is one of the number one things you can do to build rapport with an executive leader. So I encourage you, think 3 to 4 steps ahead. Anticipate their needs in handling things and handle things before they ask. If they always ask for a weekly summary or start sending it a weekly summary, then start sending it before they ask. If they're swamped before a meeting, summarize the takeaways in advance. There is this example. A leader I coached from. There's this leader I coached. A leader I coached when went from being overlooked to becoming the go-to person for her executive team just by making herself indispensable in small strategic ways. There was an incident when her and I were talking, and she had done the analysis, and she realized that the company was really kind of missing an opportunity. She thought they needed to implement a new protocol into what they were doing. Can't get too specific. We want to implement a new protocol into what they were doing. And so she shared this with me. I said, "Okay, cool. So what are you going to tell your boss?" She said, "Oh, I'm going to tell her." She said, "I'm going to tell her that we need to implement this new process." I said, "Okay, what next?" Well, I need her to decide what she wants to do. Is that enough information for her to decide? Well, I guess not. What information does she actually need to decide? Oh, okay. Well, I guess in addition to telling her that I recommend us implementing this new thing, I should look at, how long would the process take? What are the current options we have? What's the potential cost associated with doing it? How is this already in line with what we're doing right now? Are there negative? What's the risk of this? Taking the first step is great. Absolutely. Being proactive and recommending something that's going to improve the situation. But don't stop there. Take a second and third step. Anticipate the questions they're going to have so you can answer those questions. Like, this is a quick fun example. Actually, back when I was again younger, I was looking to my supervisor to get me to pay off some of my college student loan debt, and in preparation, I did homework. Right, I looked at how much organizations in our industry were paying off in student loans. I looked at the contract language. I looked at how our organization had done it over the past, and what was the trend, and what was how was this related to employee retention? How was it related to employee engagement? And I read up an entire briefing document that was no more than 2 pages, and saying how he would actually increase the likelihood of me staying at the organization by doing this, because there was a 3-year commitment associated with the disposition of the dollars. So I did all this homework. Then I brought the idea to him. I said, "Hey, sir, I'd like to talk to you about you all potentially paying some of my student loans off." And he said, "Okay, let's find a time to talk about it." Actually, no, I'm reading this meeting. So these are the reasons why I think you should do it. This is how it impacts the organization. This is why it's in your best interest and my best interest. This is what the department has done historically. And so we're definitely in alignment with what needs to happen. And he said, "Oh, okay." He said, "Well, this all makes sense. Check the budget." Well, I've actually already checked our budget, and we do have the funds allocated, funds to the side to pay for this year and the next 2 years as well. He says, "Oh, okay. Well, okay. I agree with this. Let me look into the paperwork and I'll get right back to you." I said, "Well, actually, I've already got all the paperwork. Everything's filled out. All I need is your signature." He looked at the documents, signed the documents. I got my money. So I tell people, make yes as easy as possible, right? And so when you wanted it, especially for influence, make yes as easy as possible. That means yes, taking a first step, but then take the second and third step as well. And finally, strengthen your relationships over time. Managing up just it isn't just about your boss. It's about building a strong professional relationship based on trust, reliability, and alignment. I love this example I heard the other day. If I right now were to tell you to brush your teeth for 2 minutes today, and you only did it once ever, how would that impact your life? How would it impact your teeth? None at all, right? What if I asked you to brush your teeth for 2 minutes a day for the next week, and then you stopped, you never did it again? How much impact, how much positive impact would that have on your teeth in your life? Very little, if anything at all. Okay, cool. What if I asked you to brush your teeth for 2 minutes each day for the next year? Would that have a significant impact? I love this example because it shows that the reality is that something that is so small, is actually insignificant when done once or a couple times. But over time, being consistent for long durations of time it makes a huge impact. Allows people to see that that it wasn't just the flavor of the month, wasn't just something you tried out, is that this is who you are. And you are someone who can be trusted. I understand who you are, how you're going to operate. And this is someone I would like to work with moving forward. Again, I talk about in my book, Reaching Senior Leadership, I highlight the importance of mentorship from above. Your boss is your most important advocate or your blocker, right? For your next promotion. And so spending the time to consistently build those relationships, consistently spend the time. Again, we actually talk about this in the newest workbook, executive workbook, Unlocking the Executive Advantage. Again, you can go to gpsleadership.org, and that's where you can find information on where you can find on Amazon, or you can get right now the first 100 people get the actual workbook at no cost, the digital copy. If you go there, again, gpsleadership.org /workbook. Now I'm going to start wrapping up in a second, but really quickly, again, if you found this value, anything we just shared, anything I just shared value, please do me a favor. Please do us a favor. Share this with someone else. Share it with someone else. Like this comment and tell someone else about it. And then reach out to us, right? At gpsleadership.org, because we would like to help support you and your team reach its goals. So here's one last example. So I coached, there was this executive I coached. He was technically brilliant, but he struggled with managing up. His boss saw him as difficult to work with because he consistently pushed back in the wrong ways. But once we started framing his suggestions differently, focusing on alignment, outcomes, and proactive problem solving, his relationships completely transformed. And within a year, he had been promoted. On the other side, there's a woman who I was coaching. She'd been working for the organization for about 3 months. She hired me 3 months into the organization. We had a meeting on a Monday. She said, Alex, I need a coach. So on and so forth. I said, great. And she starts telling me what's going on. And she says, Alex, my VP doesn't understand what's important. She was this person was the executive leader over HR. And so she keeps bringing ideas to me. Oh, do employee engagement this, or reach out to employees about that. But they haven't done their EEOC work. They haven't done any of their legal documentation regarding to diversity stuff. There's so many formal processes. They need to put an HR information system in place. Like, there's so much stuff that needs to happen before we start focusing on those other things. And she kept going on and on about how her leadership didn't understand what really needed to happen. And she said, Alex, you understand, right? I said, look, I get it. I hear you. I 100% understand where you're coming from. Your goal, your task for this week, in your next manager's meeting, ask your manager, what does she want? And then you do it. She said, Alex, all the other things, I get it. I get it. But I'm asking you right now, this is really important. In your next meeting, ask your manager what specifically she wants, and then you make that happen. She was okay. So that was a meeting on the Monday. Her and I met the following Monday. Took the phone. She said, Alex? I said, yes. She said, I was laid off this past week. Oh, what happened? Before I had opportunity to ask my manager what she wanted, she reached out to me and said I had 2 weeks left. Or actually, she was firing her that day and she was going to pay her for 2 weeks. And she said, there seemed to be a disconnect in what they wanted and what I wanted the role to be. A great rule of thumb. 2 rule of thumbs that you should keep as you move forward. 1, I always say these 2. 1, remember who's paying your paycheck. Always remember who's paying your paycheck, who is signing your performance evaluation. That's who you got to serve. Most people think their job is about fulfilling whatever's in their PD. That sounds good. But in reality, your job is to make your supervisor successful. That's what your job is. If you are doing what's in your PD and it is not in alignment with what your supervisor feels is going to help him or her become successful, you're only going to make life more difficult for yourself. And the second rule of thumb I have consistently used throughout my life is my job is to make my boss look good. If I can make my boss look good, if I can then make my subordinates look good, and the people around me look good, I'm good. And that has never done me wrong. And people say, well, what about those bosses who don't appreciate you? Sure. At some point, there's always someone who doesn't appreciate you, but that's okay because this is who I am. And I'm not going to change who I am for anyone. I am fun. I am engaging. I like to have a good time. I like to get stuff done. I like to make the people around me look good. And if that person doesn't appreciate it, you know what? Everyone else sees who I am and what I'm doing. And I have never been in a situation where someone else didn't want to pull me to work for their team because they saw how I operated. So the lesson, managing up is a leadership skill that accelerates careers. Master it. You have no idea just how helpful this is and impactful this is. When you're mastering this skill, you open doors that others never even see. As I wrote in Unlocking the Executive Advantage, leaders don't just manage tasks. They manage perceptions, they manage expectations, and they manage relationships. Influence is the currency of leadership. So here's your start, stop, continue. I want you to start taking a proactive role in understanding your boss's goals and pressures. I want you to stop communicating in ways that don't match their style. And I want you to continue aligning your work with the outcomes they care about. Again, managing up isn't about manipulation. It's leadership. The leaders who master this skill aren't just successful, they're indispensable. And if you found this to be helpful, again, share it with someone who needs it. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Check out my books. Visit gpsleadership.org to see how we can help you and your team execute your next multi-day leadership experience, whether that be an executive retreat, team building, or any other thing in between, focused on increasing trust within your team, increasing proactivity, and actually seeing measurable changes in behavior that results in increased productivity and outcomes for your organization. So as always, I encourage you, stay strong, stay positive, and definitely stay moving. See ya. Bye.
Thanks for listening.
listening to The Executive Appeal with Alex Tremble. I invite you to follow The Executive Appeal wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow me, your host, Alex Tremble, across all socials or via email for exclusive webinars, courses, and speaking engagements on continued topics of executive leadership. So until next time, stay strong, stay positive, and definitely stay moving.